Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are discussing about esophagus. The topics covered in this session are given here. First, we study about the features and position of esophagus, followed by the division of esophagus, the curvatures and the constriction of esophagus. Then we study the structures related to the esophagus, and we will focus mainly upon the thoracic part because it is the longest part of esophagus. And we will end our discussion by studying about its blood supply and nerve supply. So without further ado, let us start. Okay, now we come to the features and divisions of esophagus. Now what we mean by esophagus, we know that esophagus, it is a part of our digestive system. It is a part of our GIT. Yes, basically it is a muscular tube which carries food to the stomach from our oral cavity. So basically we say that esophagus is a food pipe. Now what is the length of esophagus? In an average adult, the length is approximately 25 centimeter. Yes, now we come to the extension of esophagus. So you see the upper end of esophagus, it starts from the lower part of pharynx, that is from the laryngopharynx. We have nasopharynx, oropharynx and laryngopharynx. So from the lower part of the laryngopharynx, there will be the start of esophagus. Then it comes downwards and it will pierce the diaphragm at the level of 10th thoracic vertebra. Yes, it will pierce diaphragm at the level of 10th thoracic vertebra, and finally it will actually end at the cardiac notch of stomach. So basically what we say that the esophagus, which is 25 centimeter long, it extends from the cricoid cartilage, which is sixth thoracic vertebra to the 11th thoracic vertebra or at the cardiac orifice. Okay, now you see the lumen of esophagus. Basically the lumen of esophagus is very narrow. Why? Because it only opens during the passage of food. So when the bolus comes, then only you see the lumen of the esophagus, it will be increased. On the other hand, simultaneously you see some constrictions of the esophagus at some sites. There are 4 constrictions mainly that you encounter, and this constriction we will discuss in the later slides. After discussing the features of esophagus, now we come to the divisions of esophagus. Now esophagus, on the basis of some anatomical landmarks, it has been divided into 3 main divisions. Okay, what are the divisions? They are mainly the cervical, the thoracic and the abdominal division. So let us demarcate these divisions. This is the cervical, this is the thoracic and this is the abdominal division. Now we have to see that what is the extension of each division of esophagus. Now you understand that esophagus starts from the lower part of laryngopharynx or at the level of cricoid cartilage, which is also at the level of 6th cervical vertebra. From the 6th cervical vertebra, it extends downwards and it enters the thorax with the help of thoracic inlet at the level of T2 to T3 vertebra. And remember, this is at the level of suprasternal notch. Yes, this is a very important landmark, that suprasternal notch acts as a landmark for the starting point of the thoracic part of esophagus. Then it moves downward and it will cross the diaphragm through the esophageal hiatus at the level of T10 vertebra, and from this level to the cardiac orifice we are having the abdominal part. So just have a quick review that from the lower part of pharynx to the suprasternal notch, we are having the cervical part. From the suprasternal notch to the esophageal hiatus, we are having the thoracic part, and from the esophageal hiatus to the cardiac notch of stomach, we are having abdominal part. What will be the vertebral level? The cervical, it extends from 6th cervical vertebra to 2nd to 3rd cervical vertebra, and thoracic part extends from 3rd cervical vertebra to 10th cervical vertebra. On the other hand, the abdominal part extends from 10th cervical vertebra to 11th cervical vertebra. And out of these three vertebrae, out of these three divisions, which one it is the longest division? Yes, we know this is the thoracic division, which is the longest. Yes, in this way we have completed the divisions of esophagus. Okay, here you can see that the esophageal hiatus, it has been highlighted. Yes, now we move to the next topic, that is the curvatures of esophagus. You can see that the curvatures of esophagus are basically the antero-posterior curvature and the lateral curvature. Now you see that this antero-posterior and lateral curvature you can better visualize with the help of a three-dimensional diagram. But before going to that, I just want to draw your attention to another diagram. You can see here, with this help of this diagram, I am primarily focusing on the antero-posterior curvature of esophagus. We know that the esophagus is present anteriorly to our vertebral canal, and always remember one thing, that the curvature of vertebral canal is followed by the esophagus. That is, esophagus follows the same curvature as that followed by the vertebral canal. So you see here that basically we are having this first curvature, and this curvature at the level of C5, yes, and then it will be at the level of the cervicothoracic junction, yes, and then there will be another curvature you can see, which will be again at the level of T5, okay, and most probably this will be the T11. So if I draw the esophagus and its curvature just anterior to the vertebral canal, then how will it look? Just have a look at it. Esophagus starts from the level of 6th cervical vertebra. So first at the cervicothoracic junction it will have this curvature, then we are having at the level of T5 it will move forward, and basically this is the curvatures. So the pink colored line I am drawing schematically represents esophagus, and this is the antero-posterior diameter of esophagus in short. Again, in the three-dimensional diagram we will see it in a better way. Now we come to the lateral curvature of esophagus. Have a look at these diagrams. You see that the curvature, it will just the lateral curvature of esophagus is basically to the left side. So what will be the course of esophagus? It starts at the upper end of cricoid cartilage at the level of 6th cervical vertebra. Then it moves downward, and remember that in the root of the neck, this is the first curvature you will encounter to the left, okay, before entering into thoracic inlet. Then at the level of suprasternal notch, or at the level of 2nd and 3rd thoracic vertebra, it will enter into the thoracic cavity, and then it will move a pretty straight manner. Then at the level of 5th thoracic vertebra, you can see that it will slightly move to the right side, okay. Then at the level of 7th thoracic vertebra, you can see a sharp lateral curvature to the, yes, you can see a sharp lateral curvature to the left, and then it moves downward. It will pierces the diaphragm at the level of T10, and then it finally opens into the stomach, okay. So in this way we can visualize the lateral curvatures of stomach. Let us make it crystal clear with the help of our three-dimensional diagram. Okay, here comes the three-dimensional diagram where you can see the esophagus in relation with the vertebral canal. You can see that this esophagus basically follows the curvatures of our vertebral canal. Now we are mainly focusing on the lateral curvatures. So here you see that this mainly starts, the esophagus mainly starts at the level of cricoid cartilage. Yes, then it moves downwards, and at the level of the root of the neck you can see that it will move slightly to the left. Okay, then it moves downward, and this is most probably the fifth thoracic vertebra, and you can see a slight lateral curvature to the right, and then at the level of seventh thoracic vertebra you can see that it will move to the left, it will pierce the diaphragm, and then it will open into the cardiac orifice of stomach. I think I can explain it, so let us revise it. What we have learned, you can see from the lateral side, yes, this is the upper end of esophagus at the level of 7th cervical vertebra. This is the antero-posterior first curvature. This is the second curvature. Okay, so this is at the level of 5th thoracic vertebra, and then it moves forward. Yes, so in this way we can visualize the antero-posterior curvature also. Now we come to the constrictions of esophagus. See that the esophagus, it will show some constrictions at some points when it is crossed by some other structures. Yes, it will have some functional significance, and it will be very useful to measure those constrictions from the incisor teeth. Okay, it will be helpful during surgery. So in this list, or in this chart, you will see mainly 3 columns. First, we will see the number of constrictions. Then we will see that the constrictions are present where or by which structures when it is crossed by, and finally we will see that the constrictions, the length of the constrictions from the incisor teeth. So the first constriction, first we focus on the theory part. The first constriction is generated when the esophagus is crossed by the cricopharyngeus muscle. The second constriction when it is crossed by aortic arch. The third constriction when it is crossed by left bronchus, and the fourth constriction when it pierces diaphragm. Yes, so there is a mnemonic with which you can actually memorize the constrictions. So the mnemonic is basically CABD. Yes, what do we mean by CABD? C means the cricothyroid muscle, A means aortic arch, B means left bronchus, and D means diaphragm. These are the structures which will produce the constrictions in esophagus when it crosses it. Okay, now let us read out the structures. Let us read out the distance from the incisor teeth. But before going to the theory part, let us have a look at some diagrams. This diagram clearly shows the distance from the incisor teeth. Okay, now we are going to make the constrictions. Now in the third columns we are having the distance of the constrictions from incisor teeth in inches and in centimeters. So before going to the theory part, I just want to have a quick look at these 2 diagrams. Okay, so in the left side you are seeing that we are having the distances from the incisor teeth, and with the help of this diagram we are making the constrictions at corresponding places. So first look at the chart. You see first constriction when it is crossed by cricopharyngeus muscle. We know the mnemonic. What is CABD? So first cricopharyngeus muscle, and it is from which 15 centimeter. Second, yes, we have aortic arch. It is 22.5 centimeter. Third, when it is crossed by left bronchus, 27.5 centimeter. And fourth, when the esophagus crosses the diaphragm by esophageal hiatus, and it is 37.5 centimeter. Okay, go to this diagram. Now the first constriction you see from 15 centimeter from the incisor teeth. So this is 15 centimeter from the incisor teeth, and you can see that here approximately the cricopharyngeus muscle is present. So this is the first constriction, 15 centimeter from the incisor teeth. Now the second constriction is 22.5 centimeter from the incisor teeth when it is crossed by aortic arch. So this is most probably the level, and this is the region when esophagus is crossed by aortic arch. Okay, so this is the second constriction. Third constriction, So in the diagram on the right side, you can also demarcate the constrictions. Basically, when it is crossed by cricopharyngeus, we are having first constriction. When it is crossed by arch of aorta, we are having second constriction. When it is crossed by left principal bronchus, we are having third constrictions. And finally, when it pierces diaphragm, we are having fourth constriction. Now let us go to the next topic. What are the relations of esophagus? Okay. Now we are first discussing the theory part, and then we will go to three-dimensional diagram, and we will brush up our concept with the help of making the structures in this blank diagram. Okay, now we know that esophagus is basically divided into three divisions. They are cervical, thoracic and abdominal, but basically we are mainly focusing upon the thoracic part here and a little bit about the cervical part. Okay, so without further ado, let us start. Now you see that anteriorly to the esophagus, both cervical and thoracic, we are having trachea. Yes, and in the cervical part, you are having the brachiocephalic trunk, the subclavian and the common carotid artery as well. Okay, now posteriorly, I am talking about the thoracic part. You are having vertebral canal. Vertebral canal, it is related posteriorly to the esophagus for both cervical, thoracic and abdominal, and specifically for the thoracic part, you are having arch of aorta. Yes, we are having arch of aorta. Then on the right side, you are having a Vigo's vein. Yes, and on the left side you are again having arch of aorta. You are seeing that this is the descending thoracic aorta. Okay, arch of aorta and the descending thoracic aorta is also present, and along with it we are having the terminations of hemiazygos and accessory hemiazygos vein. Okay, so these are the structures related to the anterior, posterior, right and left side of trachea. Now we are going to brush up our theory part with the help of a three-dimensional diagram. Now we are having the three-dimensional model, you can see. So let us discuss the relationships again one by one. Okay, let us first come to the cervical part. We know cervical part, it extends from the sixth cervical vertebra at the level of cricothyroid muscle to the level of second or third thoracic vertebra. So up to that level, what we can see that anterior relationship of esophagus, this right brachiocephalic trunk, left common carotid and left subclavian artery, they are present anterior to the esophagus. Posterior relationship, as I have already said, that they are having the vertebra, and we know that the curvatures of vertebra is followed by the esophagus. And also anterior relationship includes trachea. You can see this is the trachea which is present anterior to esophagus. Okay, now we come to the thoracic part of esophagus. You see that the thoracic part of esophagus, basically anterior to it, it has this trachea and the right and left principal bronchus after its bifurcation. Yes, and then posterior relationship includes descending thoracic aorta and the vertebral canal. Now the vertebral canal is self-explanatory. I'm not going to explain why it is, but you see that this arch of aorta, okay, we know that the arch of aorta, basically it is present left. Okay, it is present on the left side of esophagus. So after piercing at the level of, yes, we are having second constriction at the level second constriction of esophagus when it is crossed by the arch of aorta. So the arch of aorta basically crosses the esophagus on the left side, and then it is present posterior to it. So hence we say that the posterior relationship of the thoracic part of esophagus include descending thoracic aorta. Okay, now we come to the right and left side of the thoracic part of esophagus. You see that on the left side we are having the arch of aorta, and on the right side, I can show it this azygos vein here for some technical problem. So let us draw this. So on the right side, okay, right side we are having azygos vein, and on the left side you are having the termination of hemiazygos and the accessory hemiazygos vein. Okay, so basically we are having, this is the azygos vein, and on the left side we are having this accessory hemiazygos vein and hemiazygos vein. So in this manner we have completed the relations of esophagus. Now in another diagram we are going to draw the structures so that you can replicate it easily in exams. Now as a quick revision, let us draw the structures that are related to esophagus. First we draw the structures that are present anteriorly to esophagus. We know that this is the trachea. Yes, okay, this is the trachea. What are the structures that are present posteriorly to esophagus? Yes, it is in the cervical part. Okay, basically they are the vertebral column. It is the vertebral column, and for the thoracic part we are having the descending thoracic aorta. Yes, we are having the descending thoracic aorta like this. And this also one thing to be noted, that in the cervical part the structures that are present anteriorly to it includes the brachiocephalic trunk, yes, the left subclavian and the left common carotid artery. And what are the structures that are present on the left side? Simply draw. On the left side we are having the arch of aorta, along with it we are having the accessory hemiazygos vein and hemiazygos vein termination. On the right side we are having the azygos vein. Along with it you can also draw the corresponding lungs and the pleura of each side. Have come to the final part of today's discussion, which is the blood supply and nerve supply of esophagus. We know that the esophagus have been divided into three divisions, mainly cervical, thoracic and abdominal. And remember that these three divisions, each of them are having separate blood supply and nerve supply. So under blood supply we are mainly discussing arterial supply and venous drainage. Let us start. The cervical part of esophagus is supplied by thyrocervical trunk, which is further a branch of first part of subclavian artery. Okay, the thoracic part is supplied by thoracic aorta, and the abdominal part is supplied by left gastric artery, which is a branch of celiac trunk. This is all about the arterial supply. Now we come to the venous drainage. The cervical part of esophagus, it has been drained by brachiocephalic vein, thoracic part being drained by azygos vein. On the other hand, the abdominal part is drained by left gastric vein. Okay, now let us come to the nerve supply. So under nerve supply we mainly discuss sympathetic and parasympathetic, because we know that this esophagus, it is mainly subcontrolled by autonomic nervous system. First we come to the parasympathetic part. So the upper part of the esophagus, it is supplied mainly by recurrent laryngeal nerve, and the lower part is supplied by esophageal plexus. Okay, and now we come to the sympathetic supply. The upper part of esophagus, it is supplied by middle cervical ganglion. On the other hand, the lower part of esophagus, it is supplied by T1 to T4 sympathetic ganglion. Clear? Now under the discussion of parasympathetic nerve supply, we have said that the lower part of esophagus is supplied by the esophageal plexus. Now what do we mean by this esophageal plexus? Remember, esophageal plexus, it is a nerve plexus formed by the vagus nerve. Which nerve? Vagus nerve. Yes. So let us have a quick review of today's discussion. What we have discussed today, we have discussed first the features. Yes, then we come to the curvatures of esophagus. We have discussed the topic with the help of three-dimensional diagrams also. Then the constriction of esophagus, and I am also repeating what is the significance of measuring the length of the constriction with the help of the incisor teeth distance. Yes, the distance from incisor teeth, it is helpful for surgery. Yes, it is helpful for surgery. Now then we come to the relations of esophagus, the anterior, posterior, right and left relation, and basically we are mainly focusing upon the thoracic part of esophagus, and it is the longest part of esophagus. And we have already discussed how the arch of aorta, it crosses the esophagus on the left side, and it then descending thoracic aorta, it will move posteriorly down to the esophagus. In this way we have come to an end to today's discussion, guys. So if you like my work, then please hit the thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.